It all started with tractors, but became the deadliest predator on Earth. Today, we're diving into every single American tank from World War I through the modern era. This is the full story of US tanks. Start with World War I and early interwar. First up, the CLB-75, not a tank, a tractor in armor. It rolled like a steel shipping container. Slow, clunky, ridiculous. But here's the kicker. It planted the seed for everything that came after. Early, ugly, but essential. Holt Gas Electric. Next, America's first real tank attempt, the Holt Gas Electric. A hybrid before hybrids were cool. Powerful? Sure. Practical? Not even close. Too heavy, too slow. It got stuck in mud faster than you can blink. Power means nothing without mobility. Skeleton tank. Then came the skeleton tank. Mostly air, all ambition. Iron pipes instead of armor. It tried to leap trenches like some giant steel spider and failed spectacularly. But innovation doesn't come without risk. Ford 3-ton M1918 tank, the Model T of tanks. Tiny, cheap, designed to swarm the battlefield. It never saw action. World War I ended before it could. Imagine a swarm of mini tanks. That could have changed warfare forever. M1917 light tank. Enter America's first real tank. Basically a Renault FT with a US uniform. Light, reliable, the backbone of US armor after World War I. Finally, a tank that actually worked. Mark 8 Liberty. Then came the Mark 8 Liberty, a giant trench strider made with Britain. Huge, powerful, but mobility? A disaster. It reminded the US, bigger isn't always better. M1921 Medium. Meet the M1921 Medium, America's first attempt at a turreted medium tank. Rotating firepower? Yes. Game changer? Almost. Suspension? A disaster. It could fire in any direction, but bouncing over rough ground felt like riding a pogo stick. Designers learned a brutal lesson. Mobility matters as much as firepower. M1922 Medium. The M1922 Medium tried to fix the M1921's flaws. Slightly better suspension, slightly better handling. Still clunky, still slow, but it cemented the turreted medium tank concept in the US Army. This is where American tanks first started thinking, we can shoot anywhere if we survive the ride. Now things get exciting. Forget slow, lumbering tanks, this thing flew over rough terrain, literally. Its suspension was revolutionary. Big wheels, springy tracks, smooth ride. You could practically glide over trenches. But it wasn't just speed, it was inspiration in steel. Christie T1, also known as the M1919, America's first glimpse of a tank that could really move. Forget lumbering steel boxes. This thing flew over rough terrain like nothing before it. Its secret? Revolutionary suspension. Big wheels, springy tracks, smooth ride. You could practically glide over trenches. But it wasn't just speed, it was inspiration in steel. T2 Medium. Meet the T2 Medium, the next step in America's interwar experiments. It took the lessons of the M1921 and M1922 and said, let's do better. Better suspension, slightly more reliable turret, still not perfect, clunky over rough terrain and slow compared to what was coming, but it paved the way for modern medium tanks. Next coming up, interwar period. M1931 tank. The M1931 was Christie's design perfected for the US Army. Light, fast, shock-absorbing, it was a scout and a stormtrooper rolled into one. Its suspension inspired tanks all over the world, from the Soviet BT series to British fast tanks. Every modern tank owes a little soul to Christie. M1 Light Tank. Enter the M1 Light Tank, aka a combat car. Fast, nimble, lightly armored. Why? To get around legal restrictions that said the US couldn't have true tanks. It could scout, it could poke, but it wasn't meant to slug it out with giants. M2 Light Tank. The M2 Light Tank took everything the M1 learned and added more punch. Speed over armor, mobility over firepower. These little machines became the direct ancestors of the legendary Stuart. They showed that sometimes agility beats brute strength. T4 Medium Tank. Meet the T4 Medium Tank, America's next step in interwar medium tank evolution. It tried to fix the mobility problems of earlier mediums while keeping firepower respectable. Rotating turret? Check. Better suspension? Partial check. Still a bit clunky, but learning fast. T7 Combat Car. Meet the T7 Combat Car, America's sneaky little speedster, fast, agile, and lightly armored. Not a true tank, but close enough to skirt around legal restrictions on U.S. tank development. Its mission? Scout, harass, and outmaneuver heavier enemies. Marmon Harrington CTLS series. Meet the CTLS series, America's first real foray into light, fast tanks for reconnaissance. Small, nimble, lightly armored, not meant for the front lines. It was designed to scout, report, and harass. It could move quickly, but armor was barely a shield. The lesson? Speed over protection can win the first fight, but not the last. Now we enter World War II. M3 Stuart. Meet the M3 Stuart, America's first truly mass-produced light tank of WWII. Fast, agile, reliable, it wasn't heavily armored, but it could outmaneuver almost anything in its class. The Stuart was a scout, skirmisher, and morale booster all in one. MTLS-1G14. America's experimental light tank armored car hybrid. Small, fast, and lightly armored, it was designed for scouting and quick strikes, not heavy combat. Its adaptability is exciting, but simplicity often wins in war. Every experimental twist here influenced the next generation of American light tanks. CTMS-1TB1. The CTMS-1TB1, one of America's more unusual interwar light tank experiments. Small, agile, and lightly armored, it was built for scouting and rapid strikes, not head-to-head battles. Sometimes speed and clever design matter more than brute force. M3 Lee Grant. Meet the M3 Lee, known as the Grant in British service, America's first medium tank mass-produced for WWII. It wasn't perfect. Tall, awkward, and a bit of a tank on stilts, but it packed firepower the enemy had never seen. A 75mm main gun mounted in the hull and a 37mm in the turret. M4 Sherman. America's iconic medium tank and the backbone of Allied armored forces in WWII. Reliable, versatile, and mass-produced in staggering numbers. This was the tank you could count on. Crews loved it because it could roll into battle, adapt, and keep fighting day after day. M6 Heavy Tank. America's ambitious step into the heavy tank arena during WWII. Big, armored, powerful, designed to punch through anything in its path. But here's the catch. Too big, too slow, and too late. Heavier isn't always better. Speed, reliability, and deployability matter just as much as size. T-7 Light Tank. America's attempt at a fast, agile scout tank during the interwar period. Small, quick, thin armor, it wasn't meant to slug it out with heavier tanks. It was designed to recon, harass, and survive on speed alone. Mobility can be a weapon. T-23 Medium Tank. America's first real attempt at a modern, fully turreted medium tank with advanced suspension. It was designed to compete with the best European designs and take lessons learned from the M2 series. Hydro-pneumatic suspension, smoother rides, better cross-country performance, and faster speeds over rough terrain. M5 Stuart, America's upgraded light tank for WWII. Fast, reliable, agile, an evolution of the M3 Stuart with improved engine and suspension. It wasn't heavily armored, but it could outmaneuver almost anything in its class. The M5 speed made it perfect for recon, flanking, and hit-and-run tactics. M2 Locust. Meet the M2 Locust, America's ultra-light tank built for airborne operations. Tiny, fast, air-transportable. This tank could be dropped by a glider straight into the battlefield. Armor? Thin. Firepower? Modest. But that was the point. Mobility and deployability over brute strength. T-14 Heavy Tank. America's ambitious attempt at a super heavy breakthrough tank during WWII. Massive, heavily armored, packed with firepower to plow through enemy defenses. But size came at a cost. Slow, cumbersome, and impractical for modern warfare. M24 Chaffee. Meet the M24 Chaffee, America's light tank of the late WWII era and the successor to the M5 Stuart. Fast, agile, well-armored for a light tank with a 75mm gun that could threaten medium tanks and fortified positions alike. M26 Pershing. America's first true heavy and medium hybrid for WWII combat. Armored, armed, deadly. designed to finally take on German Panthers and Tigers. Its 90mm main gun could pierce heavy armor at range, and it carried enough armor to survive hits that would destroy other tanks. T-26E4, Super Pershing, America's answer to Germany's heavy armor late in WWII. Built on the Pershing chassis but supercharged with thicker armor and a powerful 90mm gun with a muzzle brake. T-95 Super Heavy Tank, America's monstrous experiment in ultimate armored warfare. Massive, armored like a fortress, designed to break through the toughest enemy defenses. A massive 105mm cannon capable of demolishing anything in its path. T-29 Heavy Tank, America's answer to the German King Tigers late in WWII. Massive, armed with a 105mm main gun capable of destroying the heaviest tanks. T-30 Heavy Tank. Meet the T-30 Heavy Tank, America's behemoth designed to punch through the toughest WWII armor. Armored to the hilt, armed with a 155mm gun capable of obliterating enemy tanks and fortifications. T-32 Heavy Tank, America's attempt to build a Panther-proof frontline bruiser right after WWII. Thick armor up front, sloped like a battering ram, designed to shrug off 88mm shells and keep rolling. Armed with a 90mm high-velocity cannon, the T-32 wasn't here to just compete with German heavies. It was here to replace fear with firepower. T-34 Heavy Tank. The moment the US said, "What if we build a gun so powerful the enemy has no answer?" Forget 90mm cannons, forget 105mm guns. The T-34 rolled out with a 120mm monster, capable of turning enemy armor into scrap metal at long range. This wasn't just firepower, this was anti-tank artillery on tracks. Early Cold War and Korea. M46 Patton. This tank that dragged America out of WWII thinking and straight into the Cold War. Built on the Pershing's bones, but reborn with a stronger engine, better suspension, and a punchier 90mm gun. M41 Light. This light tank that refused to act light. Armed with a 76mm cannon, it delivered medium tank punch at scout tank speed. Its mission? See first, shoot first, leave before anyone shoots back. M41 Walker Bulldog. Meet the M41 Walker Bulldog, the light tank that showed the world speed, firepower, danger. Designed in the early Cold War, the Bulldog wasn't built to trade punches, it was built to strike first, scout deep, and vanish before the enemy blinked. T-42 Medium Tank. US Army's attempt to fill the gap between the Pershing and the Patton. The T-42 packed a new turret, refined optics, and armor shaped to take hits smarter, not just thicker. Armed with a 76mm high-velocity gun, it aimed to deliver reliable medium tank firepower without the weight and bulk of heavy designs. M47 Patton. America rushed into service to replace aging WWII machines before the Cold War got hot. Built fast, fielded faster, the M47 didn't wait around for perfection. Armed with a 90mm M36 gun, the M47 packed serious punch, finally giving US armor the ability to challenge Soviet designs head-on. M48 Patton. Meet the M48 Patton, the tank that broke the last link to WWII and launched America into modern armored warfare. Armed with a 90mm M41 gun, the M48 packed firepower, armor, and finally, mobility that matched its ambition. T-54 Medium Tank Series. The T-54 series was a short-lived American medium tank development line that sat between the M48 Patton and efforts that eventually led to the M60. It explored new turret and gun concepts, but never reached production. T-69 Medium Tank. The T-69 was an experimental American medium tank with an oscillating turret and auto-loader, developed during the early Cold War as part of US efforts to boost firepower without increasing crew workload. T-92 Light Tank. Meet the T-92 Light Tank, America's bold experiment in super mobile, lightly armored reconnaissance during the early Cold War. Tiny, fast, armed with a 76mm high-velocity gun capable of punching above its weight. T-95 Medium Tank. Meet the T-95 Medium Tank, America's post-Korean War experiment to combine mobility, firepower, and armor in a next-generation medium tank. M103 Heavy Tank. final chapter in America's heavy tank saga. Built during the Cold War, it was designed to take on Soviet heavy armor head-on. Armed with a 120mm gun, the M103 could destroy any target it faced. T-57 heavy tank. America's wild Cold War experiment with an oscillating turret and auto-loading cannon. It wasn't built for production. It was built to test ideas that could change armored warfare forever. T-58 heavy tank. Meet the T-58 heavy tank, America's bold experiment in auto-loading oscillating turret technology during the Cold War. T-101 heavy tank. One of America's least known but most ambitious post-war heavy tank experiments. It was designed to push armor, firepower, and mobility to the limit, a platform to test ideas for the next generation of Cold War tanks. Late Cold War and Vietnam. M60 Patton. This tank that took the lessons of heavy tanks and Patton's past and forged them into a Cold War powerhouse. It wasn't just another Patton, it was the first American tank designed from the start as a main battle tank. M551 Sheridan. Meet the M551 Sheridan, America's light tank for the Cold War. Fast, airborne, and packing serious firepower in a tiny package. It wasn't just small, it was revolutionary. MBT-70. Meet the MBT-70, America's bold Cold War experiment to redefine the main battle tank. It wasn't just an upgrade, it was a complete rethinking of how tanks should fight, move, and survive. XM-803, one of America's least known Cold War tank experiments. It wasn't designed to fight, it was designed to test the limits of mobility, firepower, and crew ergonomics for the next generation of US main battle tanks. M60A2 Starship. Nicknamed the Starship, a tank that looked like it came from the future but fought like it was still learning. It wasn't just an upgrade, it was an experiment in high-tech firepower, combining a conventional gun with missile capability in one turret. M1 Abrams. This tank that defined modern armored warfare. It wasn't just a tank, it was a revolution, combining speed, firepower, and armor in ways the world had never seen. HIMAG. Meet the HIMAG, one of the most ambitious US armored experiments in mobility and firepower. It wasn't a combat-ready tank. Expeditionary tank. Meet the Expeditionary tank, designed not for traditional fronts, but for fast deployment anywhere in the world. It wasn't about raw size, it was about speed, versatility, and rapid strike capability. M551 Stingray. The nimble, airborne-ready light tank designed to redefine mobility and firepower for US forces. It wasn't built for heavy slugfests, it was built to recon, outmaneuver, and hit hard before the enemy could react. M1A1 Abrams, the first major upgrade to the original M1, designed to crush Cold War threats and dominate the modern battlefield. It wasn't just an upgrade, it was a lethal evolution, combining massive firepower, armor, and mobility in one unstoppable package. Last, we enter the modern era. M1A2 Abrams. Meet the M1A2 Abrams, the pinnacle of American tank design. It's not just an upgrade, it's a technological leap, combining firepower, protection, and battlefield awareness like no other tank in history. M8 Armored Gun System. America's almost legendary light tank, approved, built, ready, and then killed at the finish line. This machine was designed to give airborne troops real firepower, not just a recon vehicle with a cannon. Drop it anywhere, fight anything its weight class, survive long enough to win. LV-150. The LV-150, the American-born export light tank that proved you don't need to be huge to be deadly. Fast, compact, and armed like a brawler, the LV-150 delivered tank-killing power in a chassis small enough to hide behind a tree. Abrams TTB. Meet the Abrams TTB, short for Tank Testbed, the hidden workhorse that shaped the future of the M1 Abrams series. It wasn't meant for combat, it was the playground for America's next-generation tank technology. M1 CATTB. Meet the M1 CATTB, short for Component Advanced Technology Testbed, the secret lab on tracks that paved the way for modern Abrams upgrades. It wasn't built to fund, it was built to push the boundaries of tank technology. XM-1202 Mounted Combat System, the US Army's next-gen tank killer that promised Abrams firepower at half the weight, all wrapped into a platform designed to deploy anywhere fast. This wasn't just an upgrade, it was supposed to rewrite the future of armored warfare. Griffin II. The Griffin II is a prototype light tank developed for the U.S. Army's Mobile Protected Firepower program. It was designed to give infantry units fast, air-deployable direct fire support with a fully tracked turreted gun, something the U.S. hadn't fielded since the M551 Sheridan. M10 Booker 2024, the modern American light tank reborn. Armed with a 105mm cannon and optimized for rapid deployment, the Booker gives infantry units the punch they've lacked since the Sheridan, agile, lethal, and purpose-built for tomorrow's battlefields. AbramsX. The AbramsX was a technology testbed and concept platform that pushed the M1 Abrams design into the future. It wasn't a production tank, it was a lab on tracks, exploring how far the Abrams family could evolve in firepower, protection, and battlefield connectivity.